out there while I was doing part one. If you haven't seen part one before you watch this video on demand, you're a damn fool. You have to watch part one first. You can't watch part two first. I'm gonna keep ranting about it until people show up to the live stream. It's at 0 viewers. I had 70 fucking people watching me rant out there, and the fucking phone failed me. Low power mode. Fuck you, phone. You're not allowed to be in low power mode. I command ye to get more power. There's literally nobody has made it to the stream. Is the other one still going or something? Am I just streaming on top of my stream? Am I on the wrong channel? What's going on here? Let me reshare this shit everywhere, I guess. Buddy. Greetings, gamers. Okay, I see people. Humans are here. The phone overheated, so I had to stop for a second. I was on such a good roll. I had so many viewers. It'll never be the same. Everything's gonna be much shittier than it was because we're no longer in the good timeline where everyone was watching and everything was working. Now we're in the shit timeline where everything broke and everything's dumb and gay. All right, whatever. It doesn't matter. We're changing it. We're changing back. We're flipping the script. We're going back to work. You know, we're punching the clock. We're fucking turning in our tickers back to what we were talking about. Okay, I was like mid-sentence saying that fucking the bronies were always talking about how manly and cool it was to like My Little Pony. And I was like, no, it fucking isn't. It's cool to like girly things because you feel secure that it does not threaten your masculinity. But that doesn't make it masculine to like girly things. You should just be okay with not being that masculine. That's the point. That's what makes it, that was what made the brony movement interesting to me, was guys going, yeah, fuck, it's a good show. Who cares if it's for little girls? You know? Not, oh, well, you know, real men like a My Little Pony. No. That ain't the story, you know? But in that period, I also met lots of people who ended up, you know, transitioning, lots and lots of people who were just already gay or trans and got into it in that period in the first place. And so to me, I definitely saw it as like the brony movement itself, I think at its core was a lot of people like me who already were like questioning our gender and kind of, you know, looking for something that we felt like represented ourselves and not finding it in media aimed at our purported gender, and then finding it in feminine media and going, oh, maybe I've been looking in the wrong place, you know, like maybe I should have been looking at the other side of the aisle. And like that realization occurring to a lot of people at once, you know. So that to me is sort of foundational in why that thing was what it was. And it was part of the same groundswell as transgenderism becoming how it's known today. You know, like I found out about the term transgender because of bronies. I'd never heard it before, you know, but I just knew so many people in that space. So, you know, to me, from my perspective at least, that was all part of the movement. But I was almost like the last one out of my group of people from that era to transition, because I had already gotten so coiled up into my mind with insecurity and with logic puzzles I'd been giving myself to solve for 10 years on this subject. You know, like a lot of the bronies were like in their late teens or just turning 20, and I was like 22 going on 23, and I'd been, you know, dealing with these feelings. Like if I had been 14 when My Little Pony came out, I would have been into it then, you know, like, but it would have had the same revelations to me. But again, I came into it at 22. So it was like, I couldn't be so easily swayed, you know? I couldn't be like convinced just by the hype of the moment. And it was more like, you know, years wore on and I kind of felt like, wow, I really missed a boat there. Like I really should have identified myself at the time as being just like all the people around me, you know, but I'm just such a fucking contrarian. Can't help myself. So, you know, when I look back at this whole period, like teens through early 20s, and this is the period where my relationship to lolly and to pornography and to media in general kind of shifted, because it stopped really meaning anything specific to me. It all just kind of became a blur of information. It's all just stuff that's out there, and it's almost indistinct to me. You know, like, it went from, like, again, as a teenager being like, well, I'm only gonna look at lesbian lolly, you know, like, I'm only looking for, and it wasn't even lolly per se so much as just flat chested. Like, I was really into flat chested girls, and I was really into what I called at the time traps. I've pointed this out a few times, but my old Mega Tokyo account, my signature is just all caps, I love traps, which, the problem with that term, and I think with lolly in general, is that it very much comes from this place that anime fans come from of like, well, I like degenerate stuff because I am a degenerate and I'm a proud degenerate, you know? And I feel like we should not embrace the degenerative aspects of the media. Like, it should be about becoming less that way. Like, I think this is kind of what I praised Maid Dragon for, right? Like, Maid Dragon is about all of these kind of weird, fetishistic, autistic characters coming together and then becoming better people, you know, like, sort of negating the parts of them that suck as they develop relationships, you know? That's like what you hope for. That's what you want anime culture to do, is like bring people together literally to work on each other so that we all kind of fit into society as a whole better, you know? Like, we can be reintroduced as a group that fits in, as opposed to a bunch of straggling individuals who don't fit in, you know? And so to embrace the degeneracy of anime, it's that anime is trash and so am I attitude. And I understand where it's coming from, because I also think it comes from a place of some people feel really hyper secure in their like social position, right? Like, I was thinking about someone like Gigguk, who, you know, the whole Trash Taste podcast, like the reference in and of itself, the name Trash Taste, is a reference to this idiom, anime is trash and so am I. That is, you know, it's sort of like making an excuse for your own like perverseness and your own kind of like attraction to this media that it's hard to make excuses for, because it does look perverse, it does look weird and skeezy, it does kind of make you feel a little gross, you know? But like, if it does make you feel a little gross and you talk about that part of it, that's not you being degenerate. That's you being normal, having the appropriate reaction, but being willing to consume media that gives you that reaction. Nobody watches Irreversible because they like it. They watch it because it's a powerful, evocative, emotive experience that makes you think and changes the way you behave in some ways, you know? Like, you'll never feel more strongly the uselessness of vengeance than after watching that and thinking about that movie, you know? And so anime can provide you those experiences by being able to show you stuff like, you know, fucking demon rape or whatever, like the most extreme ideas that, like, I think they deserve an outlet because they challenge you to have a reaction. Well, how does this make you feel? And what are you going to do about that? Are you going to embrace that feeling, or are you going to work to negate that feeling? You know, if you see a lolly and you get turned on, you should train yourself out of that. You know, think, oh God, oh no, you know, like, that's a feeling I shouldn't have, and I'm going to put it away now. You know, like, I'm going to go look at something else and convince myself that this adult woman is attractive. Let me go over all the attractive things about this adult woman, you know? I think a lot of people just aren't willing to leave their comfort zone, expand their tastes. A lot of people are just looking for something to reflect themselves, and it's always out of insecurity. It's your insecurity leads you into needing to create a feedback loop of your own identity. You need to reinforce who you are through the things that you do and do what you consume. And that's fine, that's understandable, but you should also be trying to make who you are into someone that you want to be. Do you want to be a lolicon? Nobody else wants you to. So if you're doing it in active rejection of the rest of society. And if your goal is going to be like, well, I'm going to convince society to accept it, it's not going to work. It's not going to happen. It looks too much like pedophilia. And pedophilia's really bad. And I've talked to lolicons who are really worried that they might be pedophiles or that they are pedophiles. And when I talk to those people, that makes me really run away from lolly, because I don't want to. Because the first time somebody said that to me when I was like 17 or 18, they had sent me this comic that's like this really fucked up comic about these two guys going down a downward spiral of degeneracy, where they start off being into lolly and then they start getting into real CP, and then they just start like raping children, and then eventually they kill themselves. Now this is all a comic, so none of it's real, but it's really disturbing. You know, it's portrayed realistically. And I read this, and my reaction was like, wow, this is fucked, you know? And the person who sent it to me was like, I'm worried this could happen to me. And I was like, why? Are you going to make this leap? Like, to me, the second that the other guy says to him, what if we looked at real pictures? I would have gone, I'm never speaking to you again, bro. You're a criminal. This is different, you know? You've gone too far. You're now trespassing into moral and legal, you know, badness, even further than already. But, you know, that knowing that other people are reading this and then fearing that this might be them, that put me in a headspace of like, okay, you know, maybe this isn't healthy. Like, maybe this, even if you don't think you would actually do those things, even thinking you might is probably not a healthy place to be in. Like, you should just put yourself in a position to not be thinking that maybe you're going to go on a sexual assault rampage, you know? Just seems a little obvious to me. So, you know, talking to people like that, maybe like a little more distant, but the biggest reason that I felt defensive of lolly, even back then, because I always thought it was, obviously it's uncomfortable. Like, finding yourself into lolly is not a pleasant feeling. It's like, uh-oh, you know, I'm pretty sure I'm not supposed to like this, you know, but here I am looking at it. That's not a good feeling, you know? But, like, back then, I oftentimes looked into who's making this stuff, and I was always shocked how often it was women. How much of like the most popular, most famous like lolly meet, like Kodomo no Jikan, written by a woman, you know, and like when you consider what that story gets into, it feels like, okay, well, this is just a trauma dump. Like, this is just a woman who was over sexualized in her childhood, trauma dumping about what it was like to be that type of person, you know, to be to basically have the mentality of a slut when you're a kid, you know, like, that's what the manga's about. Some people have had that experience. Some people need that to connect with. Some people need to hear a voice about that, you know? I, even at the time, thought it was, like, too much for me. I was like, wow, this is fucking intense, you know? But I later met women who connected with that story, who loved that story, and I was like, well, I'm not gonna take, like, people are trying to make this out like it's a bunch of guys who are like, you know, leering over little girls, and I'm like, well, if this is also something women are using to like trauma decompress, are you gonna take that away from them on a legal level? What do they have to replace that with? You know, like, what else are they gonna do if not express this somehow? And the answer is probably shoot up a school, based on the women that I that I knew who needed this kind of content. They were a little wild, but that also is why I would say to those women, work your way out of it, though. You know, like, if you have to draw some lolly to trauma decompress, that's fine. But the idea should be to escape it, right? To get all this out of your system, work through it, work past it, work beyond. Do not indulge. And like, so Lolicon was created by a guy named Hideo Azuma, right? He wrote this amazing manga called Disappearance Diary. That's about the 3 different times that he ran off into the woods to be homeless and just kind of tried to escape society. Each time his wife, who helped him create Lolicon, the two of them were manga artists together. They literally created the lolly art style in the 70s. And, you know, did all kinds of magazine work and stuff. They were just like, you know, decently successful pop artists. But this guy kept running out on his family to go be homeless in the woods for a couple of months. Sometimes even just going off and living in other people's homes and becoming a contractor for a while. And he became an alcoholic on the streets for a time, to a level where he was like seeing delusions and shit as he walks around every day. Hideo Azuma was not a happy guy. He did not live a pleasant life. He never moved through, past, beyond. He only moved downward the spiral into hell and oblivion. And he created a manga about it that he the manga describes itself as, I cut out all of the really sad parts. All of it is still incredibly sad, so it's just not like presented in a way that will make you, fucking depressed all day, I guess. But it's not a good time. So I'm just saying, the road to Lolly is paved in blood or something. I don't know. You shouldn't do it. It's not good for you. It's not going to leave you in a good mental state. It's not going to take you to great places in life. It's not going to make other people like you. In fact, you will probably face social rejection if you even mention, even knowing what it is, honestly, even knowing what the word lolicon is. If you said it to somebody and then they were like, what's that? And then you knew the answer, just cut your fucking throat right there. You're done. Like, pretend you've never heard that word, and then, what the fuck's a lolicon? What are you fucking talking about? Yeah, like, it just seems like it's not good for you. So again, I'm willing to defend its legal right to exist, because I do think a lot of it is trauma decompression, but I also think that the people who are using it for that often get lost in the weeds. They become obsessed with it. It becomes all they really care about. And so let's fast forward a little bit to my Dick Show appearance. The one where I made the joke that I'm now explaining at such great length. I was willing to do that because I no longer felt attached to Lolly in a personal way. It was something I could make into a joke because I wasn't insecure about it. I had been insecure about many, many things throughout my whole career. And like, if you go back through my content, you can see this sort of opening up as I go, where like, in the beginning I was trying to make the videos pretty much family friendly when I was doing Brony videos, because I thought, if I'm talking about a kids show, kids are going to see the videos. I'm not trying to scare the kids, But after a while of getting comments from kids, I was like, actually, I want to scare the kids. I hate all these kids. Get them out of here. So then I started making my pony smoke, and I started swearing, and I stopped giving, proper reviews of episodes. And it was great. All the kids ran away. And, I found my core audience, a lot of whom still sticks with me today. And then, I started covering anime, and, like, there was more personal stuff in these videos, but they weren't about me. They weren't intense. They weren't about like my thoughts. They weren't about what I'm doing or what they weren't vlogger or streamer videos. They were it was all written content, all analytical essays. It was only when I started the After Dark series of vlogs in 2016 that I became known as like a personal figure, as like a face on the internet, a name, a person who's always available on the internet, person who you can reach out to and have conversations with, and I'll probably exist there for you, And when I reached that period was when I really started to feel like mature as an adult, Like I realized my place in society because I really kind of not had one. I'd just been sitting on the sidelines, cooped up in a room for 10 years. And so it was only when I became an internet presence that I started to see, where do I fall in? What are people looking to me for? What do they think of me? How do people see me? What do people... I just didn't know what people thought of me at all. For most of my life, I didn't know if people thought I was, like, smart or dumb. I didn't know if they thought I was crazy or, like a pervert or a weirdo. I didn't know what people thought about me until I started becoming an internet presence. The pub crawl also added a lot to this, I should say. Even in the Brony days, I was doing more of like this type of content on the pub crawl, but it was only to like a few viewers, so it never became something I was known for or like affected a lot of people. So, when I did finally become a name on the internet and I did finally sort of find my place in society, that was when I started to interrogate the media I consume more. And you can go back to 2014 and find a really interesting video where I'm complaining about No Game No Life. Because when that show first came out, the the first episode of No Game No Life has like out and out lolly fan service of the little girl of Shiro. And my take on it was like, this is gross and I don't like it. I had at this point spent like 2 or 3 years in the Brony community, you know, dealing with young people, dealing with being a community figure and manager, and talking to people about their opinions and their stances. And I had seen lots of people who were grossed out by anime lolly. Having grown up on forums and with anime fans where people are defending that stuff, I had always felt in the defensive position of, no, this, you got to protect this stuff. But the older I got and the grosser it seemed to me, like, why are we seeing Shiro's panties? What does this add to the character other than, am I supposed to want to fuck her? She's fucking 11, you know? Like, no. I think she's only like 11. Yeah, no, it's a lot. The amount of sexualization of Shiro in the show, it does gross me out. Still. And I called it out in 2014, and at the time I held it pretty heavily against the show. I went so far as to give the show like a 7 out of 10. I revisited the show with a partner years later, who was themselves much more defensive of Lolicon even than myself, as somebody who had used it as a form of trauma decompression. And watching No Game No Life with them, who was projecting onto that character, I didn't feel that same sense of guilt. Because I'm thinking, well, okay, if I'm thinking of this character as being a person like you know, as opposed, like, divorcing them from the context of this, what they seem to be in the show, which is how we usually watch anime. There's a ton of projection. There's lots. We don't think of ourselves as like, I want to be 16 like Yusuke. It's like, I want to be cool like Yusuke. I want to have his ethos. I want to have his, maturity arc. I don't want to literally have his experiences, you know. But like, so on that like metaphorical level, on the anime high-minded, just like looking at it as a series of ideas and intellectual concepts level, I became a lot more enamored with No Game No Life after that point, and raised my score a bit, because I just wasn't holding the Lolicon stuff against it anymore. In retrospect, I wish I had held the Lolicon stuff against my partner more. I thought it was cool to have a partner who's into this stuff, because it helps to justify my history, you know, help make me feel better about my past, that, oh, well, you know, here's a cute girl who also was into all that weird shit. So how bad could it really be? It's bad for both of you. None of you should be into it. Nobody should be into it. It's not better for women than it is for men. Again, it can be a way to trauma decompress, but you have to use it healthily. You have to interrogate what you are doing. And this just goes in life in general. Most people are not willing to do this. Most people just want to lose themselves in a daze of whatever makes them comfortable, whatever helps them get through. And I'm telling you, that is a less effective method than interrogating and just like completely fixing problems, so that it's not holding you down perpetually. It's just gone, and now you can move on, you know? Fix the Lolicon. If you're a Lolicon, fix it. Fix it. Just fix the problem. Figure out what's attractive about older women. Figure out what's attractive about women with full-figured bodies. Go look at Mint Salad. Actually, Mint Salad's a good bridge, you know, because she's autistic, so she kind of talks a little childish, but she's got a woman's body, you know, and she's got a woman's mind. It's only the talking. So if you need like a graduative step, you know, go check out, go to autisticboobs.com. Whatever it takes to get the lolly out of you. Get it out. Let it all out. Let it all out. Like that Fullmetal Alchemist song, you know? Mint Salad is a 1,000-year-old dragon and I have proof. I don't know about that. But, are we blaming your ex for the Plo Lolly arc? I'm with it, says Manny Muskets. Well, I'm not so much blaming as saying, like, it's a shared responsibility, because, again, it was a part of our relationship that she was somebody who heard my takes on anime and thought, this is somebody who I can get along with, you know, and I thought it was cool to have a partner who likes degenerate anime stuff. And so when you've got somebody who's kind of teaming up with you, it magnifies your willingness to go in on that subject. You know, I had always looked at it kind of like, well, when I was identifying as a man, I didn't want to be the white guy talking about why it's okay for anime titties to exist or why it's okay for lolly to exist. But if I have a girl who can say these things and back my statements, that makes it more powerful to me, at least at the time. Again, this was just my thinking pre-transition, was like, well, my opinion doesn't matter, but a girl's opinion will matter, you know, on this subject. And now I'm telling you, my opinion matters, and my opinion is that you should address the degeneracy of your habits regardless of your gender. You don't get a pass for being a girl, obviously. You know, don't listen to insecure 20-somethings Digibro who didn't know what he was talking about. Listen to current year Trixie who knows what she's talking about. Nobody gets a free pass to be degenerate based on their identity. All right? You have to confront your degeneracy if you want to fit into society. You cannot expect society to make up rules to protect you if they don't like you. You have to be likable, and an important step in that is to not even seem like a pedophile, like not even a little bit. Don't even approach it. Don't even make it like a little funny, haha, what if, you know, like, nah, just leave that alone. You know, it's easy enough. There's so many other things you can do and focus on, so many other things you can be interested or obsessed with. You know, just gave up lolly, went too far the other direction. Now I can only get off to father figures. Help. There's no problem with that. There's nothing wrong with being attracted to father figures. Father figures are great. Go listen to the song "Father Figure" by Tobey Nwinwe. I think that's how you say his name. Tobengwinwe. Tobey Nwinwe. I think that's how you spell it. It's got that song "I'm Your Father Figure." Ooh, with Royce da 5'9" and Black Thought. Black Thought is definitely my rap father figure. If I had to pick one, I'd pick that guy. That guy knows what's going on. Killer Mike, it's another good father figure, rapper. Kendrick, obviously. Now that he's got kids. Yeah, nothing at all wrong with being attracted to father figures. Actually, great fetish. Phenomenal fetish. Dads get a lot of shit these days. They be out there busting their ass, you know, doing all this shit. They say one little, like, off-color remark to their trans kid, now they're canceled. I don't believe in all that. You know, let the dads have their... Come on, I'm, like, saying this in front of my dad's massive collection of, like, bikes and fucking, what are they called? Marathon, numbers. Anyway. I'm just saying. Dads are cool. Lolly is not. Get out of the lolly. Find a way out. Figure out how you can, like, there's so much else out there in the world. There's so many other types of women you could develop an attraction to. Like, I had never been attracted to tall girls until I dated one. My first girlfriend, she was 6'2". And, like, because of the fact that, like, so much of my interest in pornography was self-projection up to that point. Like I said, up until, like, my early 20s, it was lots of lesbians, flat chests. Lesbians, flat chests. Kino, from Kino's Journey. Konata Kagami. I mean, that was my favorite ship for my whole teens. Konakaga. They're both technically 18. They look like stick figures more than they do like people. They're just big ass heads on little tiny stick bodies that are barely human. I wouldn't even call them sexually attractive at all. I just wanted to be like Konata and Kagami. That was my fantasy life, you know? But after I dated a tall girl, I started looking up tall girls all the time because I realized what's hot about tall girls. So, like, that was pretty much where lolly ended for me. Actually, it was a big surprise. First time I dated a real girl, I was lost most of my interest in lolly and became interested in girls who reminded me of the sex I'd already had. You know, like, oh, hey, tall girls are actually great. I'm going to look at nothing but, like, go down this rabbit hole for a bit, and then, imagine how, just think about going like 28 years, more or less, avoiding gay pornography, and then one day realizing you like gay pornography. Do you understand the floodgate that opened for me? You know how much unaddressed gay pornography there is? It's like the world opened up another book. Like, you finish reading the book and you realize there's a second book under the book, and you're like, oh my fucking god, I thought I was at the end of the book and there's a whole nother book, like, that's the feeling of realizing that you actually are attracted to men, maybe even more so than women, because the more feminine I become from taking estrogen, the less I need to project into other women, and so the less interested in or attracted to them I am, and the more I'm looking at guys where I'm like, that's a big, tall, strong, looks like he can encompass my entire body inside of his. That's pretty hot. It's like vor of the it's like flesh vor. I just want to get Akira monstered, I want to go out like the girlfriend, like Tetsuo's girlfriend, just squashed in the folds of the of the mass. But yeah, and I personally speaking, Sarah said, for real though, I have reached a good spot with weird kinks where I can still enjoy the abstract thrill of taboo things without worrying that it will affect my real life and actions. Personally, I don't even encounter, I'm over pornography for the most part. Like, when I want to, if I'm just like, I'm gonna look at some porn and fucking jack off, I will literally go to X videos, click on the what's new, find the first hot video I see and watch that. I'm horribly impatient. I am not going to sit around trying to find some specific fucking kink thing unless it like pops into my mind. Like maybe I'm on Twitter and I'm scrolling around and then I see some like tall, owl-headed, furry chick with huge tits and a massive dick that's like dripping down, and she's just like got this badass pose, and I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna go look at furry porn, like that happens sometimes. But otherwise, that doesn't happen with Lolly though, because I look at Lolly and I go, ooh, keep that away. Ooh, maybe I have to unfollow this account. Ooh, I might have to mute you for a while. Ooh, I might have to turn off retweets with you, Ooh, cringe. Ooh, cringe. Ooh. Like, if you're a part of the Dick Show, and this is really funny, because I'm the person who has the famous Dick Show lolicon clip. I do not go in the Anime is for Weebs part of the Dick Show Discord because there is so much lolly in it. Like, I don't even go the Dick Show Discord itself. I assume this is because of Koof. Koof has taken my spot as the chief lolicon of the Dick Show universe, proudly wearing the badge, really taking the flag farther than I ever did. Vito, like he is about everything, is on the fence. Vito is maybe possibly just a pedophile. It's hard to tell with Vito. I think he wants you to believe everything and nothing about him at the same time. He wants you to believe he could be all of the worst things, but also couldn't be. I don't know. Vito's a confusing enigma of a person. But those guys, they've taken the ball and run with it. They don't need me. They don't need another lolly supporter in their midst. They got Koof. They got Vito. My work is fucking done. I'm not the Dick Show lolicon, alright? I am uncomfortable with how much lolly is in the fucking Anime is for Weebs chat. And it's kept everyone else out. There's only like 5 to 10 people who post in there because everyone else is like, I'm not touching this thread. Imagine being the most untouchable thread in a Discord of untouchable people. Like, people who the mere mention of your association with would get you taken off the planet. The only reason there's even allowed to be a board posting that much lolly is none of them are going to be the pot that calls the kettle black of, you can't post that. I respect it. I really do.